Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast. I hope you're all doing really well. Oh man, I can't believe we are almost hitting the major holiday season. We are almost in 2026, less than 2 months away. But today we are here to talk about the full moon in Taurus. It is a supermoon. It is the largest, I guess, the most powerful supermoon of 2025. And of course, I have who better than Mary Dusina, which, let's bring her on the show here. I just realized I didn't have your beautiful face on the screen here, Mary. Mary, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Blessings of November. I'm blessed. I'm acknowledging all the blessings in my life. And one of those is you, Nicole, and your lovely audience, and the blessing that sacred source allows the concert of energy to happen between warm hearts and benevolent intentions like we're doing to come on here and share through the ethers, through the sound waves, through spirit and frequencies, what we are on our spiritual path, continuing to climb and pause and learn and want to, from our hearts, from our third eye and our hearts connected with the light bow, to those that feel blessed to listen, those that feel encouraged, to spread it onward. So I'm very grateful in 2025 to be a shape-shifting, seed-planting voice and energy. I'm very grateful for that position, regardless of other things that may or may not be a plus or minus in my actual humanoid 3D experience. I'm very grateful for these spiritual powers of letting it light up at the top, lighting it up like we do at Christmas time or, Halloween lights and things. I'm really feeling that hug of the light. And I feel like that's important for us to pause and acknowledge.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And before I go any further, everyone, if you're in the live chat right now, please wish Mary a happy belated birthday. As you all know, she was born on our Halloween. So our beautiful Scorpio mystic just celebrated her birthday, another trip around the sun. So I love it. It's just another part of the Earth vacation that we come here to enjoy the experience of. So, Mary, this period, I guess this year in general has been full of change. And we had been talking about this last year and at the beginning of this year, because we had so many outward planets, right? All of the outer planets were changing signs, which is not normal for all of the outer planets to be changing signs within a year, okay? Like the same year. So that means we're going to have major shifts in energy changes, and with change comes a lot of discomfort, a lot of shakeups to your comfort zone. And I think that's something that is safe to say virtually probably all of us have been feeling in our lives in some way, shape, or form, whether it's one area of life or not. But, in these times where things are so uncertain, there are so many unknowns, it's a really good time to tune into what is known that you can be grateful for. So to really kind of use that anchoring of the energy that we talk about all the time on this podcast, and especially with you when we do the monthly full moon broadcasts, of really, it's easy to use your energy to manipulate reality when things are good, right? But it's really when you're tested on your alchemical nature and prowess to do so when times are challenging and demanding the best of you to stand up when it's hardest. And I really feel that's where a lot of people are currently at right now. I know myself, and I've said this on so many videos recently, a lot of people everywhere I turn in my life, it's friends, it's family, acquaintances, clients, everyone is facing it in different ways. And so, I think, one of the things you and I were kind of briefly chatting about with this full moon in Taurus, obviously the dispositor is Venus. She rules Taurus and she's in Libra right now. And even though there are certain areas of my life that are really getting shaken up, one of the areas that keeps deepening, and not without its like growth periods and challenges, because it definitely has had its challenges, but is my relationship. And that's something that, for so many years, anyone who's been following me for even just a few years, some of you a really long time, maybe since 2017, when I really started going strong on this podcast and this channel, having a relationship was just something I never could really kind of hold or, receive. And everything else would always be more abundant in my life, but not that. And this is the one time where I'm like, maybe if other areas aren't the greatest right now, this one is pretty rich and abundant. And it makes me feel so grateful to have, be able to appreciate that kind of richness and abundance, where I haven't for so long, right? So in these times when it's, you're being challenged, you're being asked to step up because, there's big, maybe feels like the rug's being pulled out from under you, or current parts of your life are starting to collapse, and life as you know it is like unknown and changing. It's always good to take a step back, really look at what you have to be grateful for, what you maybe didn't have in previous years and you do have now. I think these things are important.
Truly, well said. And you look at, as you were talking about Venus, I've come to really feel this more, even though I learned the technical stuff of astrology. It hit me really strong as we came into the Scorpio new moon. It hit me, when we came into the Scorpio season over October 20th, 21st, it hit me really strong that there was this realization that, okay, the governor, the depositor of like the signs, like Mercury, is a governing agent of both Gemini and Virgo. Venus has a governship. She's the main celestial light over the signs of Taurus and Libra. And it really hits me in an intriguing way that we'll be moving out of stagnation, because Venus is a ruler of both a yang, electrical masculine frequency with her Libra, rulership of the scales, and Venus is also a ruler of a yin, magnetic feminine energy of Taurus. And this second of three supermoons in a row, October 7th, and then this one over the 5th and 6th, the brightest, the strongest, as Nicole was reiterating. And then the one that we have in December, around December 4th, 5th. These are all supermoons, but this beaver moon, this supermoon, and another interesting factor, for those of you that like to make notes in the beginning of it, like, well, how is this different than last month or the months to come? The next several full moons are operating around the 13 degrees in numerology. So some people will look at 13 in and of itself as the 1, the magician, and the 3, the creative empress. Venus is on that card. Her symbol is on the tarot major archetype card of the empress on the Rider-Waite deck. She has a heart by the side of her. She's out in nature, and she's got the actual symbol for the female and Venus on a big heart in the traditional teaching deck of the Rider-Waite deck. And so we have this shift. Nicole and I were talking about it, like this year, what was being looked at by a bevy of astrologers back in 2023, 2024 was, oh boy, 2025 and 2026, as Nicole was pointing out to you, is a big shift in the outer planets. And so in the first part of 2025, we had the big gun changes. You know, we had Uranus had been into Taurus, you know, for the 7 years, and it popped into a yang, masculine electrical, spontaneous, much faster moving sign called Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini. So here we had Uranus, which is the natural ruler of Aquarius, go into its home sign element. So the shock factor and the momentum speeded up in that March to May period. And then we had the energies of Saturn and Neptune going from the cosmic womb, the oceans of emotion signs of Pisces for a really long time. They shifted into a masculine electrical yang sign of Aries as we came closer to summer solstice. Then we started, at this moon, we take that pause. It's always good. The signs to me in our charts, the houses, the signs, whether you have planets in them or not, I'll say it again. We all have all 12 signs in our birth nativity, in our celestial birth map, our astrological birth chart. We all have all 12 signs. Even if they're intercepted, they're still there. They go, you know, they have an order. So the signs have a lot to do with the type of energy, the spice of it, whether it's a hot spice or it's calm and you can use it's Himalayan salt and you can use it in all kinds of things. But the signs in your chart right now and the signs that always benefit by taking that pause is Virgo. This moon's favorable to that. The sign of Cancer, Jupiter's in Cancer right now. And so Virgo and Cancer pause, Capricorn and Taurus examine. And they look for the security and the possibility of more serendipity or security, or did I prep for that? And, you know, am I preparing for that? I feel like I'll have security if I prepare for that. So your earth signs are willing to look at all the moving parts in order to obtain a good equation. The water signs of Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio are wanting to see, what is it pulling out of me intuitively, emotionally? Are my feelings getting in the way? And so when Nicole mentioned Venus, and she's not only the ruler of this full moon, but she's in her masculine yang electrical, kind of like, you know, the prod, the electrical prod. She's in that sign of, I want a relationship and I want it now. I want this in my relationship and I want it now. It's like that J.G. Wentworth Taurus commercial. It's my money and I want it now. That's so funny. It's so Taurus, like, don't mess with me. And so Venus right now is at that 28-degree point of Libra as we go into this very Venus-ruled Taurian moon. And she pops right into Scorpio right as this full moon is taking its first waning of light, you know. So we've got this surge on November 5th, depending on our time zones all over the world. But this, just say the 5th, 6th, there's that shift of a double Venus saying, are you appreciative of that main best friend? Have you acknowledged that one relative or family member that's kind of always had your back instead of causing, you know, the drama with no direction? As I like to say, who is it in your life that's just drama with no direction? A Taurus full moon is saying, okay, we choose our pastures. Think of the bull. Think of the cows, the symbol, the oxen, the bull, the cow. Taurus energy is about, do you have pastoral serenity? So if you're going to open up the gate and go into that pasture over there to feed, and there's, say, flowers, and there's a sweet feed, and there's the right kind of grasses, and it's that time to be able to nourish yourself. Taurus is about what's nourishing me, what's satisfying me. And so this energy right now is my mind a raging barren pasture? Is it all just empty? Is it scarce? You know, do I have, you know, I don't feel like I'm being fed somehow this way. I don't feel like I'm getting full enough of this. And as Nicole will quickly point out, sometimes when we don't feel satisfied or we don't feel full, perhaps our expectations could be somewhat toxic or a little too demanding, and we've got some drama that does have a direction of, unless you stroke me, unless you comfort me, unless you always assure me, I'm going to go into being a wah-wah, because there were deficits in my childhood theater. So we all have patterns. We all have loops. We all have areas that Scorpio is all about transitioning and allowing that which haunts us, that which taunts us. It's all about the whole Samhain, Halloween holiday that's real big in Scorpio. And you know, Nicole, it reminds me of some of the similarities of the towers that show up in the artistic visual of the tarot cards. So the towers that show up in the tarot represent constructed limits of perception and falsehood. So the tower card in the tarot, the lightning struck Tower of God, crumbles and they're thrown out of their high ivory tower, and new beliefs and new ways of living have to form. When you look at the death card in the tarot, as the Day of the Dead, you know, the Mexican culture on November 2nd, the skeleton is riding in with the white rose on the cloud, and there's a woman that's begging, there's a child that looks that's curious in the Rider-Waite deck, and the king has fallen on the ground. So in the death card, there's also a tower. When you stare at the artistic symbology in these cards, the sun represents immortality, and it's just beyond those two towers of constructed beliefs and the situations that they bring about in our life. So Taurus also has to do with the boundaries between life and afterlife, which is so Scorpio. So Scorpio is the shattering of the illusion, how we are impacted, the eruptions that happen emotionally when that animal or that person physically dies. Like, they're in our life, no matter whether if it was self-destructive or constructive or momentous in a plus or minus way, and then it's just done. Even clients that I've dealt with that had very abusive relatives or loved a partner, but there was a lot of verbal abuse, or loved a partner and forgave them for a lot of things, but there was a recipient in that partnership that was always wanting to mend the fence, you know, try to heal them, you know, try to heal the broken wing on the wounded bird type of a thing. So there was usually a partner that was taking the strikes, if you will. They were trying to micromanage the lightning of a person that's broken or fractured or betrayed or addicted. And they're trying to, you know, the empath or the people pleaser or the one that is wanting to be the shamanistic soother gets a little too involved in their lightning, but their heart is wanting to bring them enlightenment. So in Scorpio, there can be that, you know, think about the old movies where the water's thrown on the witch and the witch screams, I'm melting, oh, you wicked curse, I'm melting. So all of the things, all of the lightning bolts and the fire of fear that the good witch or the bad witch, you know, in the debate that they have, is still the life and the afterlife. And even in our past relationships, even when we had to say goodbye to the addicted relative or partner, or we had to go to a safe house, or we had to completely move and literally for a while be on the run because we were being stalked by her or him. You know, there's those stalkers out there too. And to me, that's like in Scorpio, the ghost and the vampires and the things under the, you know, the gutter, the scary clowns kind of a thing. So how you know, if there's something in my closet, is it hiding under my bed? And sometimes that happens to us psychologically and mentally, even when we're away from that drama. So we're coming through new gates of the old into the new. And in the moon, when you have the dog and you have, some people see a wolf, some people see a coyote, you know, on that card, and then they see a crayfish or a crab rising its claws up in a stream of water going up to the full moon. So in the moon card in the tarot, we're encouraged to take the path beyond the two towers of just our already formed or constructed beliefs into the unknown, trusting the unknown. You know, it's interesting to me, Nicole, and maybe you've had it too. I've dealt with a lot of readers, astrologers, mystics in the 40 years I've been doing this. And a lot of them, you know, talk about how fascinating either themselves or other people already know that a situation, the job, the relationship, the family dynamic, they already know it's toxic. They already have tried and tried and tried. And although they change and although they try different methods, the other person stays stuck in the loop, And even though it's toxic or abusive, self-abusive, external abuse thrown, and there's the lightning that stings and burns and shocks people, the part of them that they've got to kind of look at a different way is you're going there again and again because it became a familiar pasture. It became a familiar foundation. And so not all of our familiar beliefs or our familiar developed or taught to us and told us this is the way to do it. Be a good Catholic. You better be a loyal Jew. You need to marry into your culture. You need to do this or that, and don't do that. We had these taller people, these parents and these school systems and what our peers told us was cool or uncool. We formed a lot of beliefs and dipped our toe in the water of, I'm going to try that, and ooh, that hurt, or ooh, that was enticing. And so we can get caught either in the pleasure pasture, or we can get, the thrill pasture, and we can, the adrenaline, and we also can get caught in every time I try to change it, it seems like I take a step forward and I get thrown back too. So this full moon with a double Venus, 5 retrograde planets, and mostly in the energetic signature of Earth, Mother Nature. When people say, well, could you make it really simple? With this strongest full moon, supermoon of 2025, my inexpensive, might not cost me anything, go-tos of therapy that I can have. Doing art, being out in nature, being involved with nature. I don't care if you're going out there and trimming all your bushes, or just, like blowing the leaves with the leaf blower. There's a certain kind of open-eyed meditation to that can be very relaxing too. So being out in nature, hiking, having lunch with your friends out in nature instead of the restaurant, music, really working with the Taurus is the throat chakra, and Scorpio is the sensual reproductive area, the whole orgasmic thing of like mind and heart, and the playing of the sensuality is the playing of our earth body, our physical body, like an instrument. So bringing pleasure to the earth body, the physical body, through comfort foods, through your favorite Christmas movie or story of your culture, going into that. But what music goes with that? What music goes with that? So I believe that the big boundary, when we've got a lot of Scorpio and Taurus going on, and look at those houses in your chart. Scorpio, Taurus, they are polarity to each other. They're opposite to each other. Taurus, I know a lot of Taurus people that like wearing black as one of Scorpio's colors, or and this moon will prompt some energy in wanting to wear silver grays or different tones of grays, the cooler grays, the blue grays. Taurus, I also think about with emerald green and going into the hunter greens and the tree leaf colors of green. Scorpio, their natural colors have to do with the maroons and burgundies and black, and they're more to do with, if you will, biological colors, the blacks, the blood colors, the deeper reds, and that whole autumny, what are the autumn reds that we wear? What do those leaves look like in autumn? So this full moon, Scorpio is the sign, and this full moon is the lunar light that says the cooler temperatures are coming. They're coming. We just heard here in Tennessee, they said, okay, the normal day where we can have morning frost is usually a little bit later, but cold temperatures and first freeze warnings and frost is coming next week. And so I thought, wow, it's that time of the year. Here it comes. Because it's been kind of nice and 70, and then boom. Now today only 66, only 45 at night. Temperatures I love, I might say, when you're in a 4-season grid. But we're going to go into that real cold stuff. It's going to kind of like, all right, here I am. It's Jack Frost. I'm beginning to like put a little dew on the ground and freeze the dew and show you the water and how it's doing crystalline dances. You got some liquid crystals that are happening on your grass and your trees right now, even though they're holding on to the fire colors. Then we're going to have Mars. Mars is going to jump, and it's going to go into Sagittarius. And as it does that, and then we're going to have Mercury retrograde by the 9th as in Sagittarius, and it'll back up into Scorpio. So we've got Mars going into Sagittarius energy with this full moon. We've got Mercury getting ready to retrograde on the 9th. We've got energetic signatures on 1111, which is its own 22 master number numerological surge. So we've got some real interesting things that are wanting to say to us right now, if you had to define it in 3 words, would the pasture where you're feeding, would the security be just what's going on financially? I mean, if we're all honest, I don't care how much money you have invested or in the bank or crypto or whatever or under your mattress, there's a certain kind of a quiver that there's out there right now in the whole global scene with digital ID and crypto versus gold and silver, and will the dollars go away? Oh my goodness, there's a certain kind of World Economic Forum that happens when you get this Taurus surge. And we've got Uranus, which briefly went into Gemini. It's going to back up. And as it backs up, it's going to touch into the Taurus energy again. So Taurus doesn't like anything to force it to change or to adapt. It just simply doesn't like it. And so as we opened up the month, Uranus was already retrograde in Gemini as we opened up November, and it's going to hit back into Taurus. As I'm looking at the ephemeris here, it's going to hit back into those last degrees of Taurus when we get to like the 9th, 10th, and 11th. So a lot of people study the 11 of November because in and of itself forms the portal. You've got the 11, that can be 2 towers. And so it has to do with the balancing again of Venus and Libra, the Libra scales. But we've got these other hugging, sympathetic, maternal yin energies, the goddess. We've got the mystic and the shaman and the person that leads us at ceremony. We've got the herbs, which are of the yin and the feminine. We've got Mother Earth's herbs that sometimes can stimulate us in a certain type of a high or a hallucinogenic revelation to where we are able to step outside of our earthbound habits. And I'm not advocating one way or another. I've investigated, and so I have a knowing for myself that when we shift out of the normal 3D perception, I've done it with music, I've done it by the ocean, I've done it on a full moon, I've shifted without any use of any herbs. But Mother Nature has these plants and these herbs and these mushrooms and these natural things besides prescriptions or street-bought, scary drugs. Mother Nature has, her way with hemp and cannabinoids and mushrooms and things to say to us, you don't have to go hard, go big, but why don't you study and research, do some self-checks with your own conditions of how you are in your physical temple right now. And if you can get away from all the anxiety and get the pause from anxiety, enter the pause of serenity, you can place yourself into the power of a circle, the power of a ceremony, to where you have like minds. And it's not a social event. When you're going to a healing circle, it's not a social event then. That's when everybody's on point to bear witness and to really look and see deeper. So there's a ceremonial thing. I guess I'll wrap that part of it up, is that we've got Saturn and Neptune now shifting back into the Piscean energies. And as soon as it did, there was all this water stuff that was going on with Melissa and Cuba and Jamaica. And I'm like, oh my God, it just went into Pisces again. And so Neptune's wrapping up a 165-year cycle. It's like Nicole said, astrologers are like scratching their head going, holy moly, are we living through iconic, once in an incarnation things? We really are, even with Pluto in Aquarius. And so we're going to have Uranus, do its thing in Gemini, and it's retrograding back into Taurus. And so it's kind of doing Mars is going to fight with Uranus and Gemini, and it's going to back into Taurus. And then we're going to have these retrogrades saying we're about to shift again into the new pioneering creative options. So it's not going to stay the way it's been. No matter how much you have resisted, I don't want to change. I know it's crappy in this job. I know it's crappy in this house. I know it's really scary in this toxic relationship. And I can't tell you, Nicole, how many times over these 40 years I've had clients say to me, I know I'm not in a good relationship. I know this is a very abusive scenario, but I'm more afraid of what might be out there in the unknown. I said, wait. You know that what you have isn't good for you or them. You know that this is not bringing out the best of you, and you're fearing the potential opposite of this. I mean, can you look at that a different way? And when you get them to look at it a little bit different, like I'm I can't tell you about your feelings. You can only tell me about your feelings because I just ask your permission for you to say that to yourself a different way. I know what I've got is toxic. I know I'm unhappy with what I have right now, this apartment, this house, this person. Let's not just blame it on the dynamic of a he, she, he. But I know, but I'm not happy right now. The first thing about Scorpio is, will you take accountability without guilt of what you really know needs to die, what you really need to escape from, what is not bringing out the best of you. So you can blame your partner if you want to, but if you're not changing it, you're a part of that. You're a part of that collapse equation of toxic emotion. So I think that's the big thing that's going on right now, is that we're getting a sacred pause, because the divine always wants to align us. Spirit is always, blowing the breath of the divine in to coalesce and mix with our own human breath. I mean, that's what breathes life into us, with supernatural, etheric frequencies. And so Spirit's telling us, take a pause. Imagine, go with the totem of this Taurus, and imagine you're that magnificent bull. You're that beautiful cow. And I think I just heard, who knows if it's true with everything nowadays in the internet, but I think I just heard that over 500-year tradition of the matadors killing the bulls in Spain and other countries stopped, that it finally stopped. So that didn't have to be the adrenaline thrill to actually risk the matador's life or kill the bull, that type of a thing, that whole horror of that. And I believe more and more people, Nicole, are awakening to the majesty of serenity and peace with all the trauma that's going on potentially in our lives and in the world. I mean, people dodging bombs and predators, the whole pernicious thing. But I believe that Spirit has called us to be more awakened and realize that which we are grateful for now, and that we're not taking for granted now, as there's not some hot, evil breath breathing down our neck. And we need to be, as agents of light, sending love and prayers and meditation and light in our ceremonies to those people that are in any kind of a threat zone, war zone, food insecurity, financial insecurity. We need to not just bitch about it and take the time to go on social media and write comments about it, yay or nay. We need to disengage from that. Play some Taurian, life-altering, scorpionic, healing frequency music, ceremonial circles, work with the herbs that calm you and help awaken you, and not just for thyself, but send it out to our comrades on Earth. We are all Earth citizens. So I feel Taurus is, and given that it's their strongest supermoon of the year, I believe that that's the call to arms.
Well, with it being a Taurus full moon, this one is really interesting as well, because it's the first full moon in Taurus that we've had in 7 years that doesn't include Uranus in the sign, even though it's very close to coming back into Taurus this Friday on the 7th. It is not yet there. And so this full moon feels like a little bit of a precursor of what we can expect after Uranus finishes. It feels like it's like, okay, you're getting a little precursor of what you really need to start saying yes to and what you really should be saying no to. And Uranus is going to come back in just to shake things up a little bit longer for about, 5 or 6 months or so, as it ingresses back into Taurus on Friday. And it'll be there, I believe, until April, right? End of April next year or somewhere around there. And so this is important to kind of understand. So this is a unique full moon in Taurus for at least, our first one in 7 years, where we don't have Uranus in this sign. And Uranus loves to shake things up. Uranus doesn't do so well in Taurus because Taurus is a fixed sign and it wants stability, it wants security, which is the exact opposite of what Uranus does. And so it's important to kind of really think about the Taurus sign of your astrology chart. Like what does that represent in your pie chart, as Mary calls it? What house is it? What does it represent? Because this full moon is, we think about full moons are always about releasing, culminations, letting go, but really this full moon isn't about releasing emotions. This is truly what I think is about offloading your liabilities. Okay. And when we talk about the Taurus Scorpio axis, we're talking about money, value, resources, and all the different formats that it can come in. So value, not necessarily just money, but all the other resources that it can come in, as well as your self-worth. Okay, how you value yourself, how do you value your relationships? And the reason why that's going to be extremely important with this full moon is because we said at the beginning, Venus, the dispositor of the full moon in Taurus, is in Libra, a sign of relationships, as well as balancing and finding harmony. Now, with this particular one, as we know, Taurus absolutely is going to really take a look at your money, your time, your body, your attention, and your peace, because Taurus loves security. Taurus loves safety. Taurus just wants things to be predictable. Okay. And without Uranus in the sign, this is a kind of really strong ask of really looking at your life, because Scorpio tends to be a lot more intense, a lot more dramatic. And so you're being asked to really look at, where have you perhaps been drama bonding? Because the last 5 years have truly been wiring us, wiring our minds, okay, wiring our nervous system to be bonded to drama. It has been incessant and nonstop. And I really feel like this might be the beginning stages, which I think will be coming more heavy into it once Uranus is finally done with Taurus, but really looking at doing an audit on, where have you been cultivating fake stability and calling it peace when really it's debiting your peace? Because if fake peace is really what's happening here, it's costing you your internal peace, which means it's a debt. And Scorpio and Taurus is really looking at credits and debts, right? That's what we're looking at here. And so where are you fully credited in different areas of your life? Specifically, really look at your Taurus house of what it represents, because that'll give you a stronger key. And what are you really credited? Are you really in the black? Are you in the positive here, where you're actually filling that bank account, so to speak, up? Or are you at a debit? Are you in a debt, at a loss? Are you in the red? So one of the things this full moon is really asking you to look at is asking you to retire any kind of fake stability. All right. If it looked secure, but kept you tense, whether it was your relationships, whether it was your clients, your routine, your diet, whatever it might have been, a lease, it's really time to kind of close that out. And it's not meant to be done in kind of a dramatic way, because this is where we have to kind of really end our kind of wiring that we've all been kind of going through to drama as a way of bonding, right? Feeling secure, feeling attached, feeling a sense of belonging. So really, this is an idea of where the universe isn't necessarily snatching your comfort away from you. It's truly kind of coming in to repossess what was built on anxiety, but yet still called security. So fake stability feels safe because it's familiar, but it's certainly not right, right? The other thing too, with Venus in Libra at 28 degrees in this particular full moon, she's coming into an applied square to Pluto in Aquarius, which is at 1 degree. And so now Venus, the dispositor, is starting to come into a square to the planet of power, truth, death, transformation, right? And so your value system is really getting stripped down to the studs. And it's asking you to really look at anything that you've maintained to be likable, to be palatable. You know, what have you negotiated just to keep the peace, to keep the harmony, but at your expense? Okay, so this is where you have to literally stop paying social taxes, because Aquarius is the sign of groups and friends and networking and all of that kind of stuff. Like, where have you really kind of devalued yourself by saying yes to those kinds of groups and people, when really deep down it's cost you peace, it's caused you more anxiety, you're realizing that you've built something for fake peace or fake stability or security, because your authenticity is truly one of the things that's here to tank that particular economy. The real currency that you want to be working with right now is truth. And so that's one thing as well. And then when we think about Taurus, we can absolutely think about the body, right? And so this is where you can really use your body to be like a BS meter. And so if your nervous system starts to tighten when you think of how safe or secure you really feel in that relationship, like we talked about, where you know you're not supposed to be in it, but it's familiar, right? Or if it's the job that you know pays all the bills, but you know you don't love it, you don't feel that sense of purpose, you feel like it's draining your life force when you walk in. All of that is going to have to start being a no. So really listening to the somatic response of your body is key for this particular full moon. And comfort, you don't want it to compound into a trap, right? This is like the trap of the comfort zone. So you want comfort that restores you, right? It restores you through sleep, through nourishment, through real intimacy, which is one of the positives of Scorpio. But comfort that numbs you, whether it's through constantly scrolling on your phone, maybe it's the drama bonding that, you know, gives you the heightened sense of connection in the moment, but then leaves you really feeling empty. All of that is really kind of coming up to be seen. And so where you have to really let go with this particular full moon is where you're subscribing to stress. Okay, but perhaps it's under the guise of fake comfort, fake security. So again, is it your meetings, through your DMs, looking at your clients, your friendships, maybe your friendships that always need those emotional bailouts, right? This is where you have to start saying no. Then it's those ideas of when we talk about Venus and Taurus is all about aesthetics, right? So what are your aesthetic obligations? Are you just trying to like look the part or dress things up to look really, really pretty instead of really doing it the right way? Because this is where it's substance over polish. And one of the things that I really think for this full moon, and this is big, is where you've underpriced your access. Okay. Letting people get freedom, like free access to you when truly they don't deserve it. This is where you allow people to get that premium you for free. This is absolutely where you have to start raising the gates, closing the doors, saying no more, okay? Because that is a huge part of what's really coming up with this full moon. And really understanding what's flatlining your bank accounts, what's flatlining your energy, what's flatlining the amount of time that you have to spend where you really want to spend it. Okay, so really kind of, if you were to go over a little checklist here, keep what makes you breathe deeper while you do it. Okay, but really like let go of what makes you hold your breath just to get through it. Keep the routines that restore your baseline, okay, for tomorrow, but kill the routines that need a cheat day just to recover from. And then, of course, keep the relationships where your no is respected, but do not keep the relationships where your no is negotiated, because that is one of the downfalls of the Libra and Venus together when it's in its fall or when it's being challenged by Pluto and Aquarius, is where have you been negotiating your worth? Where have you been negotiating your value? Where have you been negotiating your comfort in the sake of keeping the peace in toxic situations, in places where you shouldn't? You know you're not supposed to do that. So I really feel like this is where you're going to be offloading certain liabilities in your life, okay, that have been truly costing you peace in the name of fake comfort. That's my little rundown for this particular full moon.
I really heard you. The words that leaped out for me mystically or the factors of accountability, where you're negotiating. You know, they used to, before we had QuickBooks and we had all these computer programs, even before the cell phone thing exploded, the computer laptops did. They used to be really big and chunky, and then we went to the sleek line laptops, and so we had all this tech coming in to appeal to us and draw us in. We did it by hand. And so people still hire tax accountants or accountants that look over the books, and they're doing a ledger, whether they're doing it by hand, on computer, keeping a hard copy so it doesn't disappear into the cloud. And so, as Nicole was talking about, debits or credits, debits or credits. So is it in a column that has spent, or it's already gone, or you prioritize that? And so that energy, that investment that you invested in it, in a hope and a prayer and a promise, and is it bringing you back better credit, abundance? What are the accounts looking like? And so, again, the other thing that resonated that I liked a lot that Nicole emphasized was this is a time to hearken and look deeper with Taurus. Aries starts the Western zodiac. Taurus is the second sign, where Aries is fire. Taurus is the first fixed power representative, the bull, the oxen of earth, the earthly body, to thine own self be true. And since we had the Virgoian eclipses, like when we go back into September of 2025, and when we had Mars doing its dance with the Virgo thing, they're at late, when we went into Virgo in August, that whole mid-August with the Virgo stuff starting up, and then the eclipse, in September, oofing that last degree, that 29-degree thing of Virgo, I feel this full moon is having us look back to mid-August and say, what all has gone on with am I jogging? Am I walking? Am I working out? Am I doing calisthenics? Am I stretching? Am I doing Tai Chi or yoga? Because we're in a cycle right now with this earth sign full moon that's saying, okay, whatever it is, debit or credit, because Taurus is all about the number crunch and what the investments are producing. Are you at a loss, or is it a gain? Is it a loss? Is it a pause? Sometimes the pause is a good thing, so you can again look at your accounts and look back and where you're at on the original goal, the original manifestation. So this energy is saying to you, are you taking any kind of different steps or procedures or up-leveling your beliefs, like letting go of the loop, the familiar patterns, whether they're toxic or not, they're familiar. So there's a kind of security when we go back into, that's the way my daddy did it, and that's the way my mama did it. In our teens, we're going, I am not going to do that like my mother. I am so not going to do that like my dad. When I have a relationship, I'm not going to do bop, 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 bop. And we make these announcements as we're moving from child into young adult, and they stay with us. They stay with us. And then we start to see what in this job reminds me of my mom, my dad, my caregivers, who betrayed me, who wasn't there for me, where life, maybe not just the people, life created a circumstance that they left really early in your life, like that parent died, that parent did a self-destruct addictive exit from their physical body. So this full moon and the fact that we've got Venus moving into the sign of Scorpio as this full moon, boom, happens, Toriad meteor showers, boom, happens. There's a trine to the South Node in Virgo, so that's bringing up some of the things of our past. The South Node shows us where we slip into what Nicole was talking about, whether they're healthy or not, these comfort zones. Sometimes the comfort zones are productive. Sometimes anger can be self-promoting, can be productive rather than just self-destructive. But these comfort zones can also be where we take that into a debit column and we procrastinate, we avoid, and we enable because we don't want to have to face it. It's comfortable to keep having, that's drama with the direction. That drama is something, as she said, you've become very familiar with. And even whether it may not be good for you, or certainly it's familiar, and maybe there's a certain security that, well, this is the way it always is, and I know how I always get angry, and I know what will make me finally drop the guillotine. But you're so much more than that. You're so much more than that. I guess I'm asking in the same way Nicole is with the different moving part equation, how about that there are when we start to take personal, direct looks, deeper looks at taking accountability for the state of our wellness, be it psychologically, emotionally, intuitively, physically, when we start really saying, I know that I've been doing too much of that and too little of this. Oh, look, there we are back at Nicole's debit or credit. So I'm going to take personal accountability And I know that it's going to be a good investment that will pay off when I start reducing my reliability on this pattern and this behavior that's costing me energy. It's not improving my psychological or physical health. Stress can kill, period. Repetitive anger, angry, abusive words. And even when we're saying those to ourselves, maybe we have supportive teams around us, but then when we get along, let's not forget that Pluto in Aquarius is trying to clear us of our inner, very intimate, very private self-talk. And Uranus shifting back in late spring of 2026 back into the sign of communications of Gemini. We have until from this month, this November of 2025 links to late April of 2026 saying, okay, so from the spring of 2025 all the way into late October, November, Uranus was in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune were doing the dance in Aries, and we were showing you there's new things on the horizon. Get creative, believe in yourself, market yourself, hit the pavement, do what you need to do to be motivated. These are good cycles for that. 100% true. Now, the late October, the Halloween, the Samhain, the All Saints Day, All Souls Day is saying, okay, now, not only who's left your life, not only honoring those that are in the spirit world, not only looking at your intentions, not only looking at, this is autumn in the Northern Hemisphere, wherever you live, it's about to be the closing of the year, as Nicole said. It's November. It's December, and then we're into January 2026. So this is a taking inventory of allowing yourself the credit and the abundance of beginning to pause. Taurus is always about preparation. It's always about we're setting some new levels of habit, routine, as Nicole talked about. We're beginning to look at, okay, for me to micromanage this, when I get to December 20th, 21st, when I get to winter solstice, Yuletide here in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm starting the 3 signs in the 3 months of winter, regardless of what the temperatures are. We're in the 3 signs of autumn: Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. So as Mars pops into Sagittarius, as it does very soon, as this full moon happens, and Venus popping into Scorpio, we still have that divining rod. We still have the telepathy. We still have the ability to shed the skin, surge the purge, and get out of purgatory and get out of the hell. Pluto ruling the underworld of Scorpio. And Scorpio is saying, you've got that phoenix switch in you too. You can rise above the ashes of your own former destructions. We all have a past. We all have done and learned from those former things we did and or allowed or did not do. Sometimes I have a lot of clients, Nicole, that are still blaming themselves for the regret or the chance they didn't take, or I feel it could have been so much more if I had just have, and they get caught in that loop.
Mm-hmm.
They get caught in, if I would have only gotten the divorce sooner, if I'd only left that job, and there's a lot of secrets that are coming out right now in the whole Scorpio dynamic. A whole lot of secrets are coming out. Scorpio starts to expose, like we've got a lot of secrets going on in Tennessee. Like I didn't know that there was a major bomb making plant in a little town in Tennessee that blew up. It blew up, and like there were only DNA fragments left of the people that got compromised by that. And it was, it's like this secret kind of thing that was going on. And you live in Tennessee, you know about Oak Ridge, you know about, the atomic bomb history with Oak Ridge, but I didn't know that there was this other bomb making thing that's Brighton or Brent or something in Tennessee. And it was just like all of us Tennesseans, I'm born in Tennessee. So for a Tennessean to go, wait, what? So there's a lot of these, and Pluto can be bombs, and Neptune, the oils and the oil pipes and the submarines and things like that. It has to do with stuff that you and I are not seeing, involved with, or knowing about on some kind of conscious level. There's a lot of moving going on beneath the surface. And so psychologically, mystically, metaphysically, if you want to learn astrology at all and the different tools that the signs represent, Scorpio is an excavation tool. It's how careful we have to be when we're dealing with propane gas. If you've got gas stoves and gas heaters and gas logs versus I can go out and light a coal fire or a wood fire and these explosions that can happen with these volatile chemicals. So you've got the wrong mix and it's kaboom. And then there is a crisis. There's a chaotic crisis. So for some people, the chaotic boom is divorcing and breaking up with not the person, place, or thing, but letting go of how it, breathing into how you get liberated rather than struggling to let go of something that's just got that iron chain around your ankle. How appropriate, right? Below that rules Scorpio, Aquarius, the ankles. Yeah, that iron cuff that's chaining you, like you see in the devil card in the Rider-Waite deck. You have the same man and woman on the devil card, with the different kind of artistic features of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, but they're addicted to materialism. They're addicted to it. So when you look at the dark arts, it's when greed drives you. Like you take a company that makes volatile chemicals like Monsanto and Dow, and there's a great YouTube that I saw about the whole history of what they didn't let the people know. Oh my God, Nicole, going all the way back into the 1940s. And I'm like, wait, what? About the whole thing about the seeds and the contracts farmers, Taurus, farmers had to sign with the fields and their crops and all, but they couldn't, plant any seeds that weren't, and Monsanto and Dow could come and, investigate it, and the whole glyphosate thing, and how the explosions and experiments in Vietnam, how they sprayed it on people besides Agent Orange. And so there's this whole thing of like, whoa. And so I guess I'm saying to the audience, don't get hypnotized or beguiled and bewitched by the current fear porn of, oh, this has never happened before. And, oh, how could the government do that? And, oh, they lied to us about this or that. And I'm sitting here watching a documentary that takes me back to the 1930s and the 1940s about how they started to manipulate our crops and poison and do all this. And the farmers first thought it was good, so they beguiled and bewitched and lied to them, and then punished them and did lawsuits and everything. And then the people that did use the Monsanto chemicals, the farmers that wanted to keep it natural, the chemicals went over into their fields and poisoned it. And they had like agents that went out, like an off-duty police officers to these farmers, and you better use it or they arrested them. There was lawsuits. And I'm like, damn, I never heard that. I never learned that in school. I didn't know that. So I'm telling you, there's things that will come out in the opposite sign of Scorpio with Taurus this whole time until we get to the new moon of Scorpio on November 20th. There's stuff that's going on, like when we have Mercury Cazimi. That means when Mercury kisses the face of the sun. In the very last degrees of Scorpio, when we get to that November 20th, that whole new moon cycle coming up at the end of November is saying to us, watch what's coming to the surface. Watch what seems to be too speedy, too pushy, you better do it this way or you're going to have to hit the highway. What is it that you could literally be benefited by breaking up with, by breaking off with it? It's like, why are you giving it that much power? Pluto rules Scorpio. It's about what you're allowing to take your power. We look at, what gives us power? What makes me feel good? How about what's draining you? How about what's actually insidious? Talk on that, Nicole. That's a big thing.
No, yeah. Scorpio is all about drainage, right? It's detoxing, all of that kind of stuff. So it's truly, really asking you to look at what you truly value, and have you been misplacing your time, your energy, your money into things that are draining you, your time, draining your resources, draining your, so many different things, and your emotions, your everything. So this is where we have to really look at what has become a liability in your life and is costing you, it is debiting you, versus crediting your body, your relationships, your life, your bank accounts. Like all of that has to be really taken into. And with us kind of hitting the hour mark, I want to jump into all signs. But Mary, before I do, is there anything that you want to say to just really sum up this full moon before we do that?
I like that you and I both are coming back to, sometimes with mystics and shamans and circle leaders and shapeshifters, they think we can't talk about money and finance and coin and our talents. But we do need to be looking at what's working with our physical body and what's working or not working financially. And it's okay to kind of reroute the plan, I guess, is a way to say it. And so I feel like I don't want you to feel like you're not being spiritual for your, I'm backsliding in my spirituality if I'm too focused on my finances. If you find yourself worrying, that may be, the worry may not be just a bad thing. Maybe the concern is that you're just to look at it that day or look at it a little differently or walk away from it and come back to it. Go play the music, do some art, really sit down and draw a mandala. You can take a paper plate. We learned that in some neurolinguistic and psychological training I did in the 90s. You took a basic white paper plate and crayons or markers, and it was quadrants like a chart, Nicole, and you just, it's like, there was the east, west, north, south, and you kind of just drew that cross in the middle of the paper plate, and you did the colors that you felt you wanted to do. And some people went outside the lines, if you will, and on the little ripple parts of the plate, and you started to study what did that color represent, what zodiac sign, what energy was it, what did it remind you in your life, and was it in the upper adult quadrant, was it in the like the ascendant, the first to the fourth house, was it in your early life? And so it went in subconsciously and unconsciously. There were these different segments. So you can come at this without having to learn all about astrology or all about numerology. I've done that all my life and become a Reiki master, did that. I mean, animal totems, love it. Native American circles, love it. Certain herbs and flower essences, all of these are tools. So you don't take it so personal. And like, well, I don't believe in astrology. Well, okay, neither do I, but it's a really great tool. You just try it sometime. So this moon is about, if you wrote down just 3 questions, where do I feel secure? Where do I feel secure? I'm in comfort and I'm grateful. What's working? In other words, Taurus is all about our second house, our values, and what we're prioritizing. What are my top 3 things I'm grateful for? And what are my top 3 things that I'm still negotiating? And I'm going to start doing more credit, and I'm going to put more investment into my self-worth. My self-worth. Those subcategories underneath self-worth might be, it's time to set the boundary. It's time to say no more. It's time to say, I'm good with this. This doesn't work for me. It's time to say, let's talk about this. And if we can negotiate, and it's a win-win, there's that Libra thing of Venus at the late degrees of Libra at this full moon, because this full moon isn't just now. This full moon goes all the way in. The next 2 weeks is the canopy of this full moon. So until we get to November 20th, which is the next big lunar phase, a Scorpio new moon, that's when the sun and the moon are in the same sign. That and I meant to say this, Nicole, the next few full moons are at 13 degrees. We talked about that at the beginning of the hour. The next several new moons hit 28 degrees. I just find that interesting that they're hitting that full moons are 13, new moons are 28. And when you add the 2 and the 8, and the tarot, the 2 card is the high priestess and the 8 is strength, the woman that the lion doesn't have to attack. When you add them together in numerology, it's a 10, which brings in the Wheel of Fortune card, time to let the wheel of fate change and dance for you. And so this moon, just look at the sign, look at the tool that we're using. It's Taurus. And so Taurus digs the hole in the ground to put the herb, to put the flower, to put it in the ground. We need to be grounded. Taurus is the fertile soil. And so how does our garden grow? Probably is, even though we're in harvest, what are we looking at? The symbol in American Thanksgiving, I don't know if it is Canadian Thanksgiving, but you'll start to see artwork and cards besides turkeys and food. You'll see the cornucopia, you'll see the horn of plenty. And so it's about, this is what my garden netted this year. I got so many tomatoes this year, but not that many potatoes. Or maybe we're planting different things. So autumn is still a busy garden time when we have a Taurus full moon. It's about, we're planting different things to match the season of life we're in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, what just to kind of circle back, and then we'll jump into the all signs. What Mary said there about finances and money and, not wanting to, I don't know, think that you're not being spiritual if you're looking at your money. I just want to say to the audience, please, Do not spiritually bypass parts of this reality that are materialistic. This is a very material world. That's what makes 3D 3D. Money is one of
Yep.
the greatest spiritual teachers you will ever encounter. If you are trying to pretend like money doesn't matter and finances are not a big deal for you because you're bigger than that, you're more spiritual than that, I I implore you to take a
Yeah.
different
Me too.
perspective, okay? Because you are missing the whole point of this reality. This entire reality is built in 3D form. It is all about material in the sense of how you're supposed to navigate it and work with it in tandem of your spiritual self. So, there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that goes on in the spiritual communities when it
Yep.
comes to money and
Yep.
finances. Do not get caught up in that. I know a good portion of you do not, but I'm just speaking to those of you who may be there. It's okay. We've all been there. It's okay if you're there. Just don't get stuck there, okay? It's part of the journey, but you've got to remember that you came into this body, into this life, whether you believe you chose it or not, you did. And you chose to come and experience this planet and what it has to offer within this matrix. And money is one of the biggest teachers you will ever encounter. It can teach you so
Yeah.
much about what you avoid, what you fear, what you dislike, what you like, all of the different things. So, use this opportunity on the financial axis of Taurus Scorpio to visit that with Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, in Sagittarius, which is to look at your belief system, to look at the greater truths,
Yep.
to become a higher learning being, to look at things in a different way so that you can see things from a different perspective. I think that's important. So, that being said, Mary, I'd love for you to jump into all signs because we're now almost an hour and 10 in.
I
So,
will. Yeah, it's time.
wherever you want to start, I'll let you start.
We'll start with Aries because it's easier for people, whether they're advanced, intermediate, or beginners. So, because Aries it does deserve the I am place. It is the first of the 12 signs, Pisces being the final sign. So, it just makes it easier for people. So, as we start the signs, remember the spotlight right now in our life is Earth. It's Earth. So, when I say the element of the signs as I go through them, anytime you hear Earth, that's going to be a big deal. So like it's in Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign. So for Aries, this full moons illuminate. The sun and moon may be opposite signs to each other, but there's a bright light. And when they're closer to Earth, perihelion, and they'll appear, this one appearing brighter and bigger just after, look into the east, just after sunset. So the full moon is illuminating. It's our spotlight to harmony between the mind and what our soul is urging us to do, our intuition, our inner learning, intuition, what we are to learn. So for Aries, this full moon is spotlighting and lighting up what they would call the second in the pie, the second slice of the pie. In astrology, we call that houses instead of 12 slices of the pizza pie. And so the second house for Aries is the normal realm of Taurus. And so for Aries, this Taurus moon is very strong because it's a spotlight on income and outgo, possessions, financial, self-worth. These matters are beginning to culminate from what you were longing for back when we had the Taurus new moon back in April of 2025. So what's happening is your efforts and your energetic signatures that launched back in spring are beginning to stabilize. Taurus stabilizes things. It's like this is where it lands. It may not be everything you want yet. You may still be involved in the initiation, the open portal, leaving the matrix of what was, and you've got some work to do here. Let it be exciting. Stop being fearful of it. You're going to learn some new things. You're going to meet some new people. Like when you get a job that you didn't think you were even a fit for, and all of a sudden your faith says to spirit, you answer spirit when it says, look, I brought this into manifest into your life. I'm not saying you have to stop analyzing it. You don't have to give it 20 years, but I manifested this for you in response to the prayers and the ceremonies and the longings that you had back at the end of last year when we were in Scorpio last year, and it's Taurus time of this year. So this is the puzzle. This is the adventure, the journey. This is the shaman's journey up the mountain, like in the Hermit card. This is your ascension that you're going through, but it's a process to climb the damn hill. So it's not good or evil to climb the damn hill. You just got to climb the hill, because that's the work, that's the progression of what's going on. So Aries people right now, Venus is very dignified. She's a happy in Taurus and Libra. Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, and so therefore she stimulates Aries, and she's shifting from the late degrees of Libra, as Nicole and I talked about, right into Scorpio, right as this full moon starts to wane. And so for Aries, what that's beginning to do with the moon turning the moon's energy sextile to the Pisces North Node, and the sun in Scorpio trining, and Jupiter's and Cancer and Saturn and Neptune are in the water signs. These are all stimulus for the pressure coming off of you, Aries. All these planets dancing around the heavy hitters of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, retrograding back in Pisces. I mean, I always say to people, and they say, oh, I'm going to have Saturn in my sign. I'm going to have that, for the next 3 years. I'm like, no, honey, let me tell you what's really going on. But you've been doing astrology for a long time. I've experienced it, and I've taught it, and I've witnessed it. Before Saturn gets in your sign again, Aries, it also spent 3 years in your 12th house, the sign before your sign. That whole time that Saturn and Neptune been dancing around in the sign of Pisces, it's been making Aries have to face every single thing. Whether they've changed it or not, it's forced them to look at, this is the way you always seem to do this. This is the way you always seem to, as Nicole said, bypass this psychologically or spiritually. You enable it, you allow it, you run from it, and then you get really angry at yourself and therefore out externally. Aries, it's anger first. It's their temperament. What temper are you meant to have, Aries? So money matters are now favoring you. New jobs, new expansions, new positions, leaving one type of talent dance and going into a completely new thing that you know a little bit about, but you've never really prioritized it in your second house list of values. So this moon's energy is lighting up your second house. This moon's energy, both the Taurus and the Scorpio sun are very favorable to the work to be done soul-wise and materialistically when they are hand in hand. That Pisces North Node, the moon in Taurus even trines the South Node in Virgo. So these things are opening up doors and letting you put on the nice fitting shoes or jeans or a good looking jacket, or you get the new haircut because now the money's coming in. So it's pointing toward both spiritual answers, not requests, not petitions. This is a cycle for Aries to actually see how spirit is answering you from the things that you longed for, feared, or wanted to change back in April, May of 2025. So it's a renewal. It's portals that are opening up, and it's finally for Aries. You know what? I don't care what other people think. I'm not looking at my value based on other people right now. I need to trust my inner peace over competition. I'll say that again, Aries. I'm going to lean in, my credit, my empowerment, my accounts balancing toward the plus column is that I'm going to trust what brings me inner peace. Taurus, Libra, peace, soft moments, comfort, accepting the what is without arguing with it. I'll trust the inner peace over the competition, the envy factor, the guilt factor, the shame blame factor. So this is about psychologically, Aries. If you'll just say, wow, I was really bored. I was stuck in a rut. I was playing video games all the time. I really didn't I was recoiling from anything social, yet I know that's what I need to do. And then this new opportunity. Then I met this new person. Then I finally broke out of that debilitating scenario situation. Now there is the peace instead of the competition psychologically, physically in a relationship. Like, I don't feel you love me anymore. You shouldn't lie to me like that. That never should have happened like that. I didn't do that to you. All of that dramatic energy is vampirical. It drains your own life force bank. So there's a spiritual bank account. There's our vital organs. There's our cellular structure, our skin health. And since September, every sign that I've been looking at because of these Virgo Pisces eclipses has had something erupt that they've had to also look at for mental or physical health. And I have to tell you, Nicole, I said it on my New Moon show with Joe Roop on Lighting the Void Radio. I have never in my career, and I've had always younger, older clients, I've never seen so many people talking about dietary, digestive, colon, IBS type of issues as I have since August of this year. Like,
really?
I can pinpoint it since August of this year. And Joe was saying, yeah, I'm hearing a lot about that too, whether it's gastritis or I got to change my diet. That's not agreeing with me. So you got to remember the overarching theme when we're looking at our eclipses and north nodes right now is the Pisces north node and the Virgo south node. So no matter where the moon is, new or full, no matter where Mars is moving into Sagittarius, which is the impetus for us to go forward and be adventurous, it gives us substantial courage to change and try the new. I love that for November. But the first 2 weeks of November are reminding us, what's the state of health of your soul? What's the state of wellness of your mind? What are your stress levels? Because this is the biggest debit that we've got going on. And financially, for Aries, it's like they're all of a sudden saying, you know what, screw it. I haven't been thinking about money too much. I'm just going to go out there and force place a change, because at least if I make a change, I'm not sitting here going, well, another day, same thing. I'm hungry. I don't have the money right now to pay that electric bill. So for Aries right now, the manifestation of just doing the work to get the extra, the side job, the whatever, the moving in with somebody for both of you to be being able to better monitor living expenses, a lot of that going on. This is about you celebrating and patting yourself on the back that you'll try something new, that you will invest time in doing something new. It's not that Aries doesn't embrace new things. They do. But Taurus is giving you a different, it's like a brand new garden. Here's this land, and it hasn't had anything done to it, no building or anything for a long time. Go do wildflowers or plant the lawn that you want or whatever. This is a planting season for you, Aries, and I specifically, because of this full moon hitting your second house, from now until the Taurus season of 2026, until we get to the third week of April, into the first 2 to 3 weeks of May of 2026. For you, Aries, it's about make hay while the sun's shining. The gravy boat's about to be full. It's okay as you start to get more money and that increase financially. It's okay for you to buy the prime rib if that's what you want. If you to take your ass out, even if it's by yourself, Aries, and sit down and say, I'll have that T-bone steak, and yep, I want a baked potato. Yep, I'm going to pay the 50 cents for the chives and the sour cream too. And yep, I'll take some extra bread. It isn't about dieting to lose weight at that point. It's about, I deserve a 3D earth sign physical feast. Not just Thanksgiving, not just the pressures of the holidays, but like, I'm going to go out, and it might be, I'll feel doubly good if I go out and I take a dear friend or a support system out for a meal at the steakhouse or whatever it is. I'm using steak, of course, because it's Taurus. So for Aries, I'm saying that it's about, you might shift to the carnivore diet. You might be looking at, and although you've looked at it before, Aries might be going, oh my God, I never looked at what those Red Bulls were doing to me or how much Diet Coke I was drinking. I can let go of that and I can incorporate this. It's not good or bad, plus or minus really, Aries. It's just about, it's time for you to do some upgrades. You know, Nicole used that in the descriptions. It's time for us, of this full moon on the banner, it's time for us to do some up-leveling, some upgrades, and honor our physical body and be good to our physical body that houses the bones and the organs and the circulation and the brain and mental health and all that. It's time to say, I need to love my body. And if I'm not, how come I'm not? And if I'm running too long, or I'm trying to be too skinny, or I'm trying to measure it up against society, and I don't like myself when I don't have Botox, those things are becoming owners of your mental health. Doesn't matter whether you do the Botox or not, but why is it becoming a ruler of your mood or your ability to see your worth? I'm just using that as an example. So for Aries, it's about invest in the time, boots on the ground, and the day to Taurus is all about the repetitive routine. The day-to-day, learn this, listen to the supervisor, listen to what colors are trending to help sell your place or curb appeal, listen to what trends are working right now that bring you the best returns. If you're a Taurus, it's your moon. It's your moon, and of all the 12 signs moons, this is the strongest. of the supermoons. We have 3 supermoons in a row. The October 7th one, this one, the biggest, brightest, strongest in the earth sign of Taurus, the bull, the ox, the cow. And next month, when we have the full moon in Gemini over December 4th. But this one, out of the trilogy, this one is the big enchilada. So it's shining right on you, Taurus. It's like it's lighting up your face. It's lighting up your faith. It's empowering you, your whole DNA, RNA, DNA, cellular grid. I mean, it's literally heaven to earth shining for you. And I was reminded the other day, I was talking to a Taurus friend, and he and I were talking, and I said, dogs are able to tell supermoons. They're able to tell when the moon's closest to Earth. And I said, try taking your dog out for a walk like tomorrow. Take the dog out for a walk right after sunset tomorrow. Right at that time, that 30 minutes, that twilight time before it actually sets and it turns dark. Do that sunset to twilight time and take your dog out or sit out with your cat or your parrots or whatever it is, and just watch how they change in that hour with this new time change here. That 4:30 to 5:30, that 4:45 to 5:45, now that the clocks have changed here in Tennessee anyway. So this full moon shining on you, it's like it's shining on you. It's an autumn full moon. The leaves are in their fire colors, and it's shining on you. And Mars is going to go into Sagittarius, and that's going to light up your wellness factors. It's going to get you better news with the test or the physical therapist or the chiropractor, or you're going to take the right kind of B12, incorporate some raw honey, work a little bit with castor oil. The Taurus and Libra also have to do with healing through the largest organ, our skin. So it's also about looking at skin health and how are you doing with your teas. This time of year is a really good time to change our teas, maybe raspberry leaf, or maybe we're going into some ginger or some turmeric added into our coffee or our tea. So this is a phase of personal transfer for you. And it goes back to last November of 2024. So it's especially regarding how you now are not being so driven about your appearance, Taurus. It's where you're saying, I like myself as I am, and if I lose weight or I gain weight or I have my hair extensions or I have my eyelashes on, or I've got the more firmer muscles on my arms or my legs or all that, I need to love me instead of always needing to do more. Taurus and Scorpio can go to extremes. They're fixed signs. So you're going to feel very recognized for your steadiness and where you endure, Taurus. That one of the power placements of Taurus is they will have peace in their life. If they kick everybody out or blow up or throw a fit, Taurus will walk away if they're not able to have serenity and peace, emotional clarity. They are often in a neighborhood, Taurus are often the males and females that will get people laughing or get them to say, well, have you ever looked at it this way? Or, oh, it ain't that. But they'll try to, soften up the mood. And so it's a phase for you, Taurus, that a transformation is completing. And I feel like your identity, you're settling into, I like who I am. I wonder why I didn't like myself, or I thought it was me all those years. So, your ruler is being in a position to bless your health and your routines. Balance is coming in around you, and I feel like it's bringing you more of a long-term peace. So if the money's good, but the intimacy, if Taurus factor is good, the finances are good, but the private life has been kind of meh, then it's just going to start to balance out. If your private life is dynamic and the money's kind of lackluster, it's going to balance out. So that's the work that this spice of Taurus is doing for you. But we're so impatient as human creatures, of all the creatures on it, we're so impatient. Look at that this is going to be blooming over the next 2 weeks. This is our cornucopia, our harvest of our gardens of the spring of this year. This is what's getting back to us for the next 2 weeks until we come to the new moon in Scorpio. And that's very powerful for Taurus people as well. This new moon coming up is going to emphasize Scorpio and shine a light on all kinds of partnerships for you, Taurus. So it's really good to be settled within yourself, Taurus. If you're Gemini, this supermoon at 13 Taurus is falling into your house of secrets, spirituality, how your ancestors, how your intuitive, psychic prowess, your ability to get messages through your dreams, through meditation, through nature walks. This is a time of solitude for you, Gemini, in order to be able to look at the possibilities, look at your options. Venus in Libra is very favorable to you as we come into this, but I see it as a retreat, rest, restore. Don't fight with solitude. There's some hidden matters. There's some inner healing. This energetic activation of Taurus, Scorpio to the nodes that are squaring you, Pisces and Virgo square, come at Gemini and Sagittarius with those 90-degree angles. So it's encouraging you surrendering more to your faith, your spiritual strengths. If you don't have them, find them. Find them. Be the Gemini investigator. Go to the synagogue or the church or the healing meditation or the gathering of Native American, whatever it is. Try some different herbs, Gemini. This is the time for you to look at how much am I repeating a negativity of, oh no, what if that happens? Oh no, what if this is what's going on? Stressing over what the doctor or the bank account might be. This is not a time for you to force. Taurus isn't the sign that you want to force changes with. It's you want to start to look at all the data rather than trying to force a change. And for Gemini, I would say rest in solitude. You might want to be more home-based. Instead of doing home projects, enjoy what you did already this year. Look at how you decorated. Look at the paint on the wall. The dryer got fixed. The plumbing's working. The septic tank's okay. The harvest is a time. That's why they call it Thanksgiving. It's a time for us to look and be given and give thanks to the things that are in order. The dryer's working. There's a routine. There's the Taurus routine. I turn on the light, it comes on. I change the batteries in the smoke alarms every autumn. The routine things that we do to keep those things not as a priority that could stress us. Sometimes the priorities stress us, and we have to deal. Our top 10 list, I was talking about those 3 things that you're positive and grateful about. You also want to do the top 3 things that might be haunting you, taunting you since October, Halloween. What is it that seems to try to be a vampire to suck your life force energy, or it keeps trying to loop back around and frighten you or demean you or judge you? So name those 3 things and burn them. Burn them in a fire, put water on it, put it outside in the earth. If you're a Cancer, the really good thing you've got going for you, Cancerians, or your moon's in Cancer or your risings are Cancers, I'd say, especially if your rising sign's Cancer, is that Jupiter, the great benevolent, the great expander, whether it's retrograde or direct, Jupiter's in your sign, and it only does that every 12 years. So you want to subtract, if your sign is moon, child, Cancer, you want to subtract 12 from 2025. That's the last time the cycle started for you 12 years ago, and this Jupiter in Cancer is going into 2026. So it went in there this year, it does a little retrograde dance, but it's still in the sign of Cancer, the crab, moonchild. It's still heightening emotional strength and intuitive. And it's like helping you break whatever debilitating patterns you might have had with your mother figure, because Cancer is moon. In Native American cultures, it's Mother Earth, grandmother moon. So we still have mother in both of those. So it's that whole matriarchal dance when you come into this life with a Cancer rising or a Cancer sun sign. And the Cancer moon they're very affected by the story of their mother, and often it's their grandmother or a great aunt that steps in. Is that whoever plays that mother figure of support and encouraging words and the nurturing type of factor. So this full moon is activating for you, Cancer, your tribe. It's the 11th house of dream weaving and wishes and the team and the friends and the aspirations and how you're flowing in a social circle and cycle. So it's collaborations, it's win-win, it's negotiations that end up in a win-win. And it begun months ago. I'm going to at least take it back to the Leo cycle of the 3rd week of July. And the harmony between your private and your public life, Cancer, is improving. It's absolutely a jet taking off of an improving cargo, the journey that only gets better. So, and the nodes being Virgo, Pisces, that gets along very well with the sign of Cancer moonchild. And you've got Jupiter in your sign, and that's like the big good guy. When you start learning astrology, they love to say that Saturn is the big boogeyman, and Jupiter's like, yippee! So you've got the yippee in your own sign. And so there's destiny aligned networks. And I feel really authentic, heartfelt allies entering your life. And I'll add to that, Cancer. Some of those allies could be plants, herbs, flowers, colors, certain musical artists, song artists. And I would say, as far as physical 3D therapy, if you're a Cancer or a Taurus, I would take some kind of those little weekend, have a glass of wine and we're going to paint this picture. We're going to do some stained glass and it's only a 2-hour thing, and you get a glass of wine for the $40 and do this little painting thing. One of those. Like, just grab somebody and go do one of those, because it's how it's pulling you more into your right brain that it will really help bless that tend to be a little bit of a worrywart Cancerian factor. If you're Leo, this is lighting up the top of your chart. This is where you exit the cross that we bear, so to speak. So for Leo, first off, I'm going to say, with all these Scorpio planets and the fact that good old, I'm going to hit the gas pedal on the motorcycle or the sports car and I'm going to hit it to the floor and I'm not coming off of it. I have a need for speed. I would be cautious, even though the technical astrology books would go, oh, Leo, Mars is going into Sagittarius in early November as soon as the full moon happens, and that's just going to kiss your ass. Yeah, it can also get you in trouble, because Leos right now with Jupiter in Cancer, you could end up getting some expansive soul, life, psychological lessons when your ass gets arrested or busted or fined by going too fast and needing that adrenaline. Leo, look at me, it's my truck, it's my motorcycle, I don't care about the neighborhood, I don't care if it scares somebody else on the road. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to be a speed demon. Now, there's a reason it's called a speed demon. So there's something about expanding and overdoing the need for too much adrenaline or speed that could actually be the thing I see with the Scorpio factor still going on that could be problematic for Leo. So I would not be, here's another one, a daredevil, speed demon or a daredevil, because you actually could be in your own lane and have a lot of expertise, very experienced driver with whatever that you're doing, a semi-truck, a motorcycle, a really fancy fast sports car. You may be following all the rules and just that you're in that acceleration mode, and that can become very magnetic, and you could attract the person that doesn't care, that is not coherent, that's on a substance, or just, their daredevil is, oh, look at your fancy car. I'm gonna play chicken with the car. I'm going to see who runs off the road faster. So the wheels can be a little too explosive, and the thrill-seeking could be the nemesis. So just don't do it. There will be praise. So the 10th house is attention that's coming toward us with authorities, depending on our choice of behavior. So do you want to attract the law or the judge or the insurance company or whatever? The bank going, yeah, you screwed up, now you're going to pay, and we're going to take your license, and there's points in that. Or do you want to really let your talent shine, sliding up your 10th house? So your need for drama needs a direction, and you actually could be the best dancer. You actually could be the best orator or author or podcaster for the next 2 weeks, because this full moon is saying, get out there. It's showtime. Put on the best, prepare, and be the best that you can be. That's probably what I want to say for Leo. Prepare, but don't over-prepare. Like, don't get in your head. Set your intention, Leo, and let the drama, let the need for speed, let the ability, like, I need an adrenaline rush, be how you go out there and just present what it is that you know that you're destined to do and that you are just absolutely awesome at. And let that be inspirational and encouraging to others. So if you're a life coach, if you're a school teacher, if you're a pastor or a rabbi or a dance instructor or someone that's doing some kind of marketing or media teaching, this is where your Leos can be the people that you put on stage and just watch them light up. Just watch them light up. If you're Virgo, that's an earth sign. We said that this earth full moon is really good for Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, especially because it's in an earth element. So Virgo right now, with Mars going in Sagittarius, it's motivating you, Virgo. I've got Virgo friends, male and female, that are cleaning out their closets and emptying out the garage and sorting all the cans by date. They've got a little OCD, but you know what? It's serving them well, cleaning up the laundry room, getting the tire pressure ready for the colder temperatures. They're like on this little checklist, not just because it's autumn, just because as they say to me, both Mel and Theo, I'm tired of looking at that mess. So there's a decluttering and an organizing that always goes on with Taurus and Virgo and Capricorn. There's something, they want to streamline it. They want to go look across the room. They want to know exactly where that 9-volt battery is. They want to know exactly where that zip tie is. They want to know exactly where the dog food is. So that routine and that stability is the foundation of psychological comfort. Now, I don't have to go looking for the keys because that is where I hang my keys. And so they discipline themselves to do that. But it's also in your 9th house. It's shining a light. Virgos right now aren't, even though the South Node's in your sign, and Virgos have been a little resistant since 2025 to bust a move and do things a different way. Remember, it's in our sign. They don't want to change that much. But right now, Virgos are saying, you know what? I'm going to stop smoking. I'll vape for a while. There's this new thing out. I've never smoked cigarettes, so I don't know. But now I'm seeing a lot of the earth signs talking about these little things that you put in your mouth. I think one of them's called Zen and ZYN and something else, and it's helping them also detox over vaping. And what I hear from smokers is that one of the hardest things to let go of that habit is that they're so used to using your hands to hold the cigarette or the cigar or the vape. And so part of their detox, part of their to get out of the loop is they want to do something with their hands. And so what I'm seeing a lot of Virgos do right now is they're getting their hands busy. What they were procrastinating on, now they're using those fingers to do the walk-in, to sort those closets and fill out those clothes and donate this or that. Because there's a lot of people in need when we come into the cold months. I have a very rigid thing with myself that I go through my closets every late September, October, before Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I've never heard of this before, but we have a little shop in Tellico Plains, Tennessee, and it's called God's Wonderful Blessings, and anything in there's free. Like, it's free. So I take it there. You know, I've often donated to animal thrift stores and abused partners, safe houses and things like that. But I have never in my life, it's a ministry, but it's a big store. It's a big store. And it's like, whatever you need, there you go. And so I love donating to that. I'm telling you, it feels good to give things to something like that, food or whatever. And they're like what churches used to do. If somebody gets in trouble, the community comes to rally. And I'm watching them do it. And I've watched them do it for 2 years, and I've heard about it through other people. So this year I said, instead of just a thrift store, I'm taking it to this place. I want to walk through those stores and see what that looks like. And I'm impressed by that. So not only am I supporting locally, I want that pay it forward with kindness, random acts of kindness, pay it forward. I want those things to succeed. I want that business to work, where a person in need, a person goes in and the greed factor's not working anymore. They go in without shame and they're able to get what they need. And it just quiets that storm in their life, because we often go through temporary, really erratic, scary clown storms. And those people that come in as our earth angels and to help us in times of drastic shock or need, that's valuable. So with Virgo, because it's 9th house, you could be one of those people working in that thrift store, organizing in that thrift store, volunteering, fostering, adopting. Virgos are animals, the smaller animals, going to the shelter, walking the dogs for exercise instead of paying for a gym membership. But we got a mixed martial arts cycle going on with our emotions right now, because Scorpios, you can't push to Taurus, that's our habits, but the Scorpio season is saying it's time to excavate. Yep, it's time to eliminate, time to flush it, time to let it go, because it's not serving you in that way anymore. And so if you're an earth sign or a water sign, you're kind of feeling a little more of that message louder. If you're Libra, Venus, last degrees, 28, 29 degrees, is a moment of grace, and you're a magnet. It's a moment of grace, and you're a magnet, because the moon also is ruled just positive Venus. And so we've got a double Venus effect, and the full moon activates your 8th house, which is the natural zone of Scorpio. So you got double impacts, Libra, and all of this. So I feel it's gifting you, bringing you emotional depth. I feel like that you're looking at shared finances, so you can work out a plan and have great resolutions and resolve some things. And it might take a little bit of time. Taurus is also about, don't rush me. I'll get to the goal. I'll pay that debt off, but I'm going to do it step by step. I'm going to keep my receipts. I'm going to make sure it gets to you. I'm going to pay the extra money to FedEx it or whatever if I'm getting close to it being late. Taurus is about, I've got the receipts. I'll bring the deets. As Nicole said in the banner, I can produce evidence of what I did and didn't do. So this is about that cycle for Libra, coming up out of the rut, getting above water financially and to do with goals. I do feel for most Libras, it'll involve the work in a partnership. So maybe one partner has more debt and you don't. And so you're right now being the support. They've supported you in the past, and there's that seesaw. There's that balancing going on with Libra. So you'll finalize some debts. You'll put your heads together, and hearts will be strong together. There may be inheritances. There may be soul ties. There may be karmic cleansing that goes on. Trust. When we release and we trust, there's a renewal. There's a renewal. So it could be an old flame comes back into your life. It's an old familiar job or relationship. You haven't seen them in 20 years. You've worked on it for 20 years, and finally your time has come. There's a lot of mystical things dancing around Libra right now, kind of like Cinderella and fairy tales and Aesop's fables. There's a lot of like dream type of symbols that are actually happening in Libra's life. If you're Scorpio, it's in your 7th house. And so in the sacred medicine wheel, so Scorpio, if Scorpio, you're a Scorpio, you have Scorpio in the east, and the sun, as the sun rises, it rises in Scorpio. This full moon is opposite of that, so it's sunset. So for Scorpio right now, even literally the time of day, I was telling Nicole, I literally wanted to just be outside on Halloween for the sunset. I wanted to be in nature. I wanted to watch the dogs play. I wanted to tend to the chickens. I just wanted the majesty of the sunset on October 31st going into the sunset of November 1st, that whole soul remembering of my relatives that I adored, the animals that I've lost, and it was so vibrant and vital. And I'm telling you, it was medicine, because it's like, oh, I relived that dog, and oh yeah, that relationship, and oh yes, my father in spirit and my brother in spirit. It was just like, wow, that's strong this year. The Samhain, the thinning of the veil is so strong this year. And I'm telling you, there's no party, there's no gift physically, there's no 3D thing that would have been as beautiful as that was, because the party was on the inside and spirit attended. So for Scorpios right now, November Scorpios especially, the moon is opposing your sun. So there's a lot going on psychologically. You're very rich as far as what your desire nature is and how it's impacting you. And you're really looking at what matters in life at this crossroads point of your life, what really matters. So relationship truths are surfacing, Scorpio. Balance between yourself and another is a key that unlocks a lot of things with both of you. Venus is dignified in Libra, your 12th house sign. So healing is coming through the F words, fairness and, not that F word, fairness and forgiveness. So there's a lot of emotional clarity, Scorpio, that will empower, put fuel into the tank of a long-term partnership, team player alliance that will have mutual honor and respect. Sag, it's a busy month. The full moon's in your 6th house, which is a Virgo house of work, health, routine. How are your daily routines affecting your well-being? Don't have to spend a lot of time on you, Sagittarius. Doesn't mean you're less than. It's just that you got more than going on, because Mars is going into Sagittarius, and it's been 2 years, Sagittarius, 2 years. Let's go back to 2023. It's been 2 years since Mars, the accelerator, the acceleration, kicking the gas, going forward, being able to be liberated and free from certain former restrictions and confining things. You're free of that. Mars is cut the leash, and you're the horse that's running free in the field. Now, where do you want to go with it? But it's not always about the ultimate destination, Sagittarius, for you. And I feel Sag is very wise on this. It's about the journey to get there. Who's involved along the way? Who are your comrades? What did you need to face that was a fear to overcome? The detours, the red lights, the roads under construction. So this is about really taking the trip. And this is about knowing that every single part of you taking that adventure, that trip, that journey is your living oracle. It's significant for you. It's powerful. And somehow I feel like it's going to reveal for you, Sagittarius, some rewards and benefits for all of those that you gave service to, all of those that when you could have bit the bullet and said, screw this. I'm so done with this same drama. I'm so done with them disrespecting me. I'm so done with that family member not really seeing who I am and knowing that even if we agree to disagree, I got your back. You matter to me, your tribe. No, I'm seeing the rewards, Sagittarius. I'm seeing the rewards. Capricorn, it's your 5th house. Capricorn is Earth. Taurus is Earth. Virgo is Earth. You guys are getting like the wonderful manna from heaven, the bread of heaven. And so I feel it's creative joy and romance and laughing because of younger people, children, grandchildren, out of the mouth of babes. I believe emotional authenticity, integrity is flowing all around you. Capricorn already knows that equals fulfillment. So the moon's trying to, this whole moon, Scorpio sun and moon sextile trine to Jupiter and Cancer for you, Capricorn. Jupiter's in your sign of sacred relationships, significant others. It just favors heartfelt expression and partnership harmony. Now, anybody that you need to turn around and take a second or third look at as Mars goes into your 12th house, as Mars enters Sagittarius, as this full moon is finishing up, don't let other people trigger you. Poke the tiger in the cage. Realize if you're in the cage, where do you get out of the cage? Capricorn, there could be some people that are envious, competitive, jealous, secretive with that Mars and Sagittarius. Here's the good news. When Mars is going through your 12th house and you've got that banner, that motto, to thine own self be true, other people are going to trip and fall and they're going to get exposed. So when Mars goes through our 12th house, it exposes those people that had a mask on or were being false-faced to us and acting like they were our coach, or they were, like Nicole talks about, a lot of this spiritual bypassing, or, no, just do it again. You didn't do anything wrong. Spend more money. And for those of you that need to spend some money with the astrologer or the life coach or the therapist or the chiropractor or the herbalist or whatever, for God's sakes, invest in yourself or don't bitch about it anymore. So Capricorn, it's time for you to get out of that rut and seek an advisor of some kind when someone tries to rattle your cage. And if you're Aquarius, this is in your 4th house of home and roots. Yep, Aquarius, I think there'll be some new things, possibly some stressful things that are going on in the family dynamic as people either exit or enter into it. You know how it is. Someone gets married, someone goes off to college, someone's pregnant, someone starts a new business, the fire that's going on in a relationship. So it's going to be busy. Like the stuff that people laugh and talk about after New Year's, after Christmas, after Hanukkah and Thanksgiving gatherings. Yeah, you don't hear that so much with Easter now, do you? No. But at those holidays, those when the family gets together for Thanksgiving and funerals and Christmas, yeah, that stuff, when it's like you feel obligated to get together where you can kind of dance around it most of the year, that's the cycle that you're in. So look at it this way, Aquarius, you're getting all that 2 weeks. So your Thanksgiving, Christmas, possible family drama patterns, you could see it as a comedy sideshow because the meals are going to be okay. So this nodal energy, this moon in your 4th house, I would certainly look at any home repairs. I would look at, don't put that off. If you need the gas company to come out and do the pilot light because something seems off or one of the burners on your gas stove is on and off, yeah, go ahead and get the authorities involved in it, because that's what's going to be peacemaking for you. It's household, it's domicile, it's relatives, it's family tribe and in-laws, and that kind of stuff. And finally, Pisces. The Scorpio really supports Pisces because Scorpio is what's secretive and hidden underneath the surface, and the actual motivation and intention in Pisces is the oceans of emotions, and Pisces has been dealing with their faith factors, and I can break up with people, but they will not interfere with my spiritual core. I have to keep believing in love. I will only strengthen my faith. Yes, pain and money can be earthly teachers, but I will rise above it. I will surf with my soul and walk with my creator and my God. So the moon is lighting up your 3rd house. So it's going to inspire you to journal, to write, dream images, different forms of communication, community, local involvement or movements, the neighbors, the community, the social circles. There might be some new things that you're checking out with that. The dignity of Venus with this Taurus Libra dance in the North Node is emphasizing. It's adding energy to, it's adding an impetus or a motivation and an acceleration to an alignment between your heartfelt knowing. There's a difference between feeling it, sensing it, intuiting it, and the things that Pisces. So even if you're functioning in the world, but you're a prescription addict, even if you're giving a lot at the thrift stores or the church or a synagogue or in your community, or mercy ships or in the hospitals. You're an ambulance driver, you're EMS, you're a cop, you're first responder, you're military, you're on the streets. You're actually out in the ocean of uncertainty, which is what Neptune can bring. A lot of Pisces right now are going into hospitals or military, or Virgos and Pisces are going out there into the crisis points that a lot of us would like to avoid. So you think about the people in the emergency room, in the ER. You think about the people, not that just checking in at the desk, but actually get you into the room, do the test and say, okay, here's the results of the test. That's Virgo Pisces stuff that's activated in general in our background right now. So if you're a Virgo or a Pisces, or you have that strong in your chart, your teaching efforts are reaching a fruition. And I believe you have an eloquence that's being enhanced. I believe that the moon's harmony to the North Node in your sign, it's once every 19 years, Pisces, subtract 19 years. You Virgos and Pisces subtract 19 years from 2025. That's the last time you were going through those eclipse cycles that you're still hovering with until, March. They start to shift in March through September of 2026. So I feel the alignment between, and I'll finish with this, Pisces, the alignment between the message, your message, and destiny is, I want to say to you, Pisces, your words carry very strong healing powers. So when you're on Netflix, when you're on YouTube, when you're on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, Pinterest, look for the inspirational Pisces. Be an agent of inspiring. Look for things that bring non-horrific humor, like people aren't getting hurt or falling or in crashes, or being divisive. Pisces, find the things that are enlivening for you, and the memes and the pictures that you save on your phone or you share with those that are near and dear to you. Be an encouragement cheerleader, because I feel like that being of service to soul you're so good at that. You might be a chef in a restaurant, Pisces, but it's how you speak to the people that are regulars. It's how you are the person that the nurse that comes in afterwards going, you got this. And they start the encouragement of like, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it hurts. You'll come off the pain pills, but the stitches will come out. This is a big interruption in your life, but you know what? Sometimes we learn so much when we have those pregnant pauses, and then there's the delivery. There's the labor, and then there's delivery. So I feel like right now, of all 12 signs, I feel like that Pisces right now are naturally given the gift of being able to be an inspiration rather than a critic to other people they encounter. And it's that kind of moon. What's the routine? Taurus is, what is the routine that will serve you better now, as well as how you show up in the world? That's the big message of this.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for that rundown,
Oh, you're
Mary.
welcome.
Appreciate it. For everyone out there, I'll have the timestamps up after we close up, but remember, again, just to kind of recap, this is where you've got to look at where are your debits and credits in your life. This is really looking at what has become a liability for you and what has truly supported you, created true value, safety and security and comfort in a way that is not the toxic kind of comfort. Okay. It's the comfort that you, can grow in. It's the comfort that you can expand in. So these are all important things to do, and really take stock of all the areas in your life that are draining you, as we talked about earlier, and what is actually filling your cup. So if you guys would like to get a reading with Mary, you can go to her website, marydusina.com. I've got the website link in the show notes and below this video if you're watching live on YouTube right now. And of course, if you'd like to work with me, I've got all the links below the show notes as well. Guys, I'm going to say, this has been a wild ride so far this year. And if you guys are on my newsletter, stay tuned. I've got something fun coming out for the 1111 portal next week. Those who are on my newsletter will get first notification, and the link for that is in the description below as well. But we have some very interesting times. I would say, just as a closer, The energy right now with Mars opposing Uranus is very foot in the mouth. Don't say
Oh, yeah.
things off the cuff, like be mindful. If you can reel it in a little bit. This is a pretty potent, well, this is a pretty big month. I mean, it's strange because there's just a lot of
Yeah.
strange energy, right? And, Mercury's going to be going retrograde on the 9th. Jupiter's going to be going retrograde on is it the 1111 portal that Jupiter's going retrograde? But
It's
then,
like, I think the strongest days of this year, Nicole, are like the 9th through the 12th. The Jupiter
yeah,
thing, yeah, and Mercury going retrograde on the 9th. Yeah, it's really powerful.
yeah. So just be mindful. And of course, like I've said yesterday on the all signs, if you missed it, this Mercury retrograde, when it goes back into Scorpio, you can most certainly expect your exes from the past to show up in this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But all that being said, thank you again, Mary, for being on the show. To everyone else, thank you.
Blessings
Love
to
you.
all.
Make sure to like the video, share, drop a comment, say hi, wish Mary a happy birthday in the comments if you can. She'll be back to read them. And we love you guys. We'll be back next month for the full moon in Gemini, another super moon. So stay tuned. We got lots of love coming to you, and get ready for the holiday season as we are certainly opening that door up right now. But, I also love it. This is a
Yeah.
time to definitely